Holman Sunisnat, Tim Ballou, Chairman for the Lummi Nation. Top responsibility for the Council is protecting the treaty rights for the Lummi people. The treaty rights have definitely shaped this great land of ours, the United States, the state of Washington, and the ancestral territories that we come from. And a big part of that is our first foods, the things that we go out and harvest and bring to the table. And a key staple for our people since time immemorial were shellfish. Our elders would say that when the tide is out, the table is set. And unfortunately, those words haven't rung true for this last few years and to the decade of mid-90s through the early 2000s. We could see the progression going back up of fecal coliform contaminating Portage Bay. And unfortunately, it's reached the level and stayed at the level that they've been closed for the last 2 to 3 years. And it's a great problem, it's a terrible problem that needs to be addressed.
Rich Apple, and I operate and work on Apple Brothers Dairy, which is part of Apple Farms. Portage Bay is at the outflow of the Nooksack River in the bay in Bellingham, and it's a shellfish bed out there, and those shellfish beds remain open if the water quality is good enough to keep them open, and is tested regularly. And there was a period of time where the dairies were a major contributing factor to the closure of those beds, and then there was the Dairy Nutrient Management Act came into play, and farms came under a new level of scrutiny, and there was more awareness, I think, too, just of pollution in general and dairy pollution. And I think that that changed the game, and water quality improved significantly over a number of years. And there was, big celebration when those shellfish beds were opened again, and we thought that we were on our way. I don't think we thought that that would reoccur. And then in the last couple of years, starting in about 2014, we started seeing the bacterial counts rise in Portage Bay. If water quality falls below a certain point, they're not going to be shellfish beds. And as farmers, I think we can really, relate to the tribe as well as anybody, in that if somebody told me that I couldn't farm half of my land, I wouldn't be very happy either.
We definitely did know that it had to be some sort of conversation between the agricultural community and the tribe. And one potential, and probably a potential action could have been legal action. It definitely could have been some sort of protracted litigation between the tribe and the agricultural community.
They were intending on suing some of the dairy farmers. And at that point, we said, we think there's a better way. And we started having conversations with them. And there was a point where we kind of hit a stalemate. And then Chairman Tim Ballou suggested a partnership, that we would have a partnership and that we would work together. And so that was, I think, from my perspective, it was bold for him to do that. I think it was the right thing to do. And at that point, we kind of designated 4 farmers and 4 Lummi Business Council members to form an 8-person group that would then start to work out what would that partnership look like.
I look at the Portage Bay Partnership as a commitment on both sides to identifying sources of contamination and applying best practices to changes, and those will be tailored to each facility, to each signatory, and really not pointing blame at any of the signatories, but it's really everybody taking a hard look at what could be improved, what could be done to address the bigger issue of water contamination.
the issues were hard and things needed to be talked about, but relationally, I think it was very good. And I think it was, for the most part, we did it respectfully, and you know, we didn't. It was not hard meetings to go to. I think we relationally got along well.
It's a community approach to a community problem, and we're grateful that we had you know, neighbors who were willing to sit down and figure this out with us. And I think in turn, it'll improve the water quality for everybody.